Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this episode of Imperator Rome. In the previous session, we continued our expansion northwards because we were trying to get control of the grain provinces, which we have now done. The plans for kind of the mid to immediate future is basically continue expanding because we just need more turf and more population as well. In fact, what is our population now? Overall, I think there is a way of seeing that easily. If we click on there and then click on there, we can see here we have got 40 population. I think we started with like 31 or something like that, so we are growing, but it is a fairly slow pace. So let's just unpause and get on with things. What's that? Score. Aha. Interesting. Right, so between sessions I was taking a very quick look at everything around us, and I noticed there are a couple of other alliances we could probably make. If we went to Marcomannia, they have an alliance which would be available, so we'd be allied with them, we'd be allied with Bastania. We're in a defensive alliance with some... No, we're not actually. I misread that last time. I'm going to send this alliance offer right now. That puts us into an agreement with them. And then Semnonia was actually allied to Bastania, but they're not in the defensive alliance. They're in a different one. So it's just me and Bastania in the defensive pact and nobody else. So we are a little bit diplomatically isolated, unfortunately, but we are now allied with both of those. I really want to get this alliance with Bohemia. I think that's going to be a really good move. And the positive relations are now improving. We are up to plus 15, plus 16. Will it say what that's going to go up to? No. Well, improved relations plus 36. It'll go up to 50. I kind of wish it said there what it was going to increase up to, but unfortunately it doesn't. The other thing is we do have sufficient funds now to build a building, so we need to decide what we want to do. One of the things I was considering is to put a fort here. Just make Imeprator that much more difficult to conquer. Although right now it is kind of a bit of a moot point, because most of the wars are likely to come from the north, and having the fort in the furthest south province seems a little bit silly. The other thing we could do is build a granary, which will increase the population growth here, and also the slave happiness, though that's kind of irrelevant, we only have one. The other thing we could do is build a marketplace, which would actually increase the local tax income and the commerce level. And we do generate a fair amount of local tax here because we're going to have a lot of tribesmen. The commerce income I don't think is going to be hugely useful, though that is something else we need to look at in just a moment. Yeah, this really is between the granary and the marketplace. The reason I'm kind of hesitating on the marketplace is because I am expecting a lot of places to be trading with Imeprator, because it is the capital region. Which means that the marketplace commerce bonus is going to be fantastic. The other thing that we do need to consider is the amount of manpower we're generating. So at some point we may want some training camps, though I don't think we want them just yet. As Rome, I found I was building tons of those. Let's go with the granary. Let's go with the population growth. Go with my gut instincts on that one. Okay, good. Everything else would just go... Oh no, we could actually get a point of stability. I like that idea, although this is going to run out in a year. And we'll be left with 46. But I think it's a good idea to get that extra stability, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And that's now means that we're getting more research, we're getting more ruler popularity, which is a big deal. Because our ruler was really unpopular. Is there a reason you're losing popularity like this? Yes. Oh, it's decaying because of the base decay is there. What is your charisma? How do we know what your charisma is? You're kindly, you're disciplined, you're ambitious. Secure. Secure gives you extra charisma, and cold loses you some charisma. But where's charisma actually listed? Ah! That's charisma. Okay. I didn't realize that these actually had names. So martial, finesse, charisma, and zeal. Interesting. Now we know. And he does have a little bit of wealth. I mean, that matters for other characters more than it does for the clan chiefs. It matters more, for example, for a consul in Rome, because you can be elected and also removed from office by an election. Breaking alliances. Bastania is considering leaving. Why? Why, Bastania? Why? Sometimes the AI does make really weird choices. They are at war with a bunch of people. So you would have thought that they'd want to be keeping as many diplomatic relations alive as possible. In the meantime, let's take a quick look at Bohemia. Bastania is insulting us. I think they want to try and declare war on me. That's not very cool. The Germanic local power of Bastania has deeply offended us with the following insult. Deceit lies upon the tongue of all of your councillors. That wasn't that insulting. The politicians. Bastania is building troops, but they're at war, so that's not really a surprise. They have 16 cohorts, we have 12. We're actually doing too badly. We actually have more manpower than they do, and a bunch more population, actually. They might have a lot of land, but they don't have a huge amount of population. One of our clan chiefs, Sunlake Segimundrus, has suggested moving some of the people of the clan of Agadaga to his own rule instead. Not only would they be under a new ruler that would be more loyal to us, but he has promised to try to unify the people under his rule as well. Agidagi, on the other hand, has made no such promises, but simply moving people out of his clan's lands would be seen as a disloyal move to his clans and those under his rule. So we gain 3 centralization, which is something we do need to talk about in a moment. We would also lose a bit of money, but we can afford that, and also the civic power. Segi gets loyalty and prominence, while Agi loses them. Agi's got 61 loyalty, Segi's got only 49. Or if we don't do this, then we lose the centralization. We're already at the maximum, minus 50 is the max there. Agi gains 10 loyalty, but Sunlake loses 10, which would bring him down to 39 loyalty, which is very dangerous. So we're going to do this because it is slightly more balanced. The civilization score, which was being spoken about there, by the way, is shown in the government. Centralization. So having a low centralization means the clan retinues are bigger, your tribespeople produce more, and migration costs are reduced. So the 75 civic power that we were spending to migrate is low because we have very low centralization. However, as the centralization goes up, your tribesmen produce less, but your freemen produce more. I think that's how it works. I don't know for sure because I haven't had a very high centralization. The other thing that this has just reminded me, because it's kind of buried and you would be hard-pressed to see it if you didn't know it was there, there's actually a massive screen here of the different laws that you can take. I kind of hope that they break this out into its own category because it's really easy to overlook. But there are a bunch of laws that we could undertake which would change the way the country works quite a lot. They are expensive, they do cost 250 civic power to enact, but they do give you quite a lot of freedom in the abilities and bonuses your nation has. So right now, for example, currency laws, we have no exchange laws, which means that we are generating +5 national tribesman happiness, but we could change it to a barter economy, which would decrease commerce and increase tribesman output. We could change it to foreign exchange, which would increase civilization and decrease tribesman output. Or we could go to the coin minting initiative, which increases civilization change a lot and dramatically reduces the national tribesman output. So if we were really trying to civilize, then the coin minting initiative would be a good way of doing it. At the moment, I'd be somewhat tempted to do the barter economy because we are not very heavily reliant on commerce income, and we are very heavily reliant on tribesman output because that is the taxes and also manpower. Then we've got religious freedom, which is tribesman happiness. So basically, both of these are happiness, and I see that one is too. Religious status law would give us +10% omen power, while the encouraged syncretism would give a lot of tribesman happiness, but it would reduce the it would increase the convert population cost. I wonder if that would affect the convert population governor policy. In fact, everything around us is our religion, so having this would not necessarily be a bad thing. It would make our tribesmen really happy, irrelevant of culture. Omen power reduction and monthly civilization change bans human sacrifices. Centralization laws. We currently are national population growth. We could get it so we lose centralization if we wanted to stay nomadic, or we could gain centralization if we wanted to centralize and become settled. I think you need to have a certain level of centralization before you can settle. I think that's how that works. And we could also encourage infrastructure, so it would cost a lot more to move tribesmen around, but it would dramatically reduce the cost of buildings. The absolutism laws. Fragmented clans gives us a lot of tribal happiness. Tribesman output could be increased with the Council of Legal Authority. National unrest is reduced with the right to be heard, but it increases all power costs by 5%. That's these costs. And then the absolute authority increases monthly tyranny, but also increases your ruler popularity. Autonomy decreases your maximum loyalty, but makes everyone a lot more happy. Interesting. Local dynasties decreases the amount of money you're making, but increases your province loyalty. Trusted attaches increases your income tax significantly, but reduces your loyalty. And then the power to the mighty increases the loyalty gain chance of armies, but also makes your generals more loyal. So their armies are going to be loyal to the general, but the general is going to be loyal to the state. That's not necessarily a bad thing if you can actually control that properly. National tribesman output with the domestic laws, transfer of wealth, ownership of land, national freeman output plus 10. That's one of the few freeman bonuses we've seen. Remember, freemen are entirely responsible for producing manpower. So that's pretty much a plus 10% manpower right there. Sumptuary laws, well, for your... Actually, it's not really. It's just if you only had freemen and not tribesmen. Sumptuary laws, diplomatic reputation plus 2, national slave output minus 20. Because we're not very heavily reliant on slaves and we would like to get a little more diplomacy going, sumptuary laws could be good for that. And then the formal legal code would decrease national tribesman happiness and increase, or decrease the freeman promotion cost as well. So that would be really good once you're like well on the way to centralizing and becoming a civilized state, where you're getting rid of your tribesmen and you're getting more freemen to take their place. Diplomacy laws allows us to have an extra diplomatic relation. We could have an open hearth, which would increase our diplomatic expansion impact, but also hugely increase our diplomatic reputation. See, I'm not expecting to do a huge amount of expansion through conquest, because we have so much open space around us. We could well do this and just kind of secure ourselves diplomatically. Declaration of superiority, minus 3 diplomatic rep and minus 0.02 aggressive expansion change. And then the Institution Assembly of Chiefs would increase your opinion maximum by another 25%. Interesting. Expanded Council, you can have an additional friend. That's something we need to talk about on your characters. Open Hearings increases the number of clan chiefs. I'm not sure I like that. Closed Court reduces the number of clan chiefs. That one I prefer, especially when we become a lot less reliant on retinues. Then we can basically just have one person who could potentially cause us problems. And then the increased council powers will reduce our tyranny, but also reduce our ruler popularity. So it's kind of the very opposite of the absolute authority. Cool. So what was it I was going to look at? Ah, yes, friends and rivals. So you can have up to a certain number of friends and rivals, which is actually 2 from the base, minus 1 because he's cold, and then plus 2 from the ruler, and plus 1 because he's an expanded council. I didn't realize there was actually a flexible amount of friends or rivals you could have. That's kind of interesting. We don't currently have any friends. If we could make our clan chief into a friend, then their loyalty would increase over time. Wow, both of your loyalties are doing badly. How old are you? You're very prominent. Where's age? 61. I don't think you're going to be around for a huge amount of time. What about the other chap? You are 52, so you're probably going to kick around for a while. You're also terrible at military. So if you did try to rise up against us, then you wouldn't be that big a threat, because you'd be in charge of your army. Okay. While if... Let's see, loyalty is ticking down. I'm wondering if there's a way of increasing it. Married to ruler family, you're a clan chief, you have a lot of loyal cohorts. See, part of the problem with these guys being wealthy is they get more soldiers, which is good for us if they're loyal, because it means we have a bigger army. It's bad for us if they're not so loyal. And then there's the maximum loyalty, but we're nowhere near that. So there are a couple of things we could do. So we could try to make friends with them, which is actually a little bit of a double-edged sword. So it costs you religious power and oratory power straight away. That's not all you're paying, though. Because basically it starts up an event chain where you have to gift them stuff to basically earn their friendship. So this is not actually true, and believe me, that can be expensive. So you want to make sure you have a bit more in your war chest before attempting to befriend someone. Or you can just get friendship through events or rivalries through events. We could try to exalt him, which would cost us some money. He gains 10 loyalty from that, and he also gains a monthly loyalty increase. But the other tribal chiefs lose loyalty. Sigismund loyalty reduction is irrelevant. That's us. So it would just be Sunlake. So if we were having a real problem with either of them, then we could exalt them and basically just keep flipping exalts between them. Because the monthly loyalty plus 0.2 outdoes the minus 1.0. Although you might only be able to exalt one at a time. The other notable thing about this is it doesn't actually lump sum decrease the other people's loyalty. It's just an increase and then a monthly increase and then a smaller monthly decrease. Gift-free hands is another option. It'll cost you 10 loyalty to revoke, but it does give them a monthly loyalty of 0.2. It also increases their corruption, however, for a minimum of 2 years. So that one is kind of dangerous. It's useful if you're in a really tough spot and you need to increase their loyalty, like, quickly. But it is risky. And then smearing their reputation decreases their popularity, which makes them a lot less dangerous if they do rise up, because the more popular they are, basically the more of your country they will take with them if they do revolt. So if you do have someone who is looking likely to revolt soon, smash the smear reputation, decrease their popularity, and they'll be less of a threat. So there you go. And it's a really bad thing if your clan chiefs are friends with each other. War chief and friend of clan chief Segremundi, member of the Geraldis. So that's one of our family. That's fine. And your friends are Segremundi family, Segremundi family. So 2 of the girls. Cool. Not a problem. Now, are there any other colonies or anything that we could establish? You are large enough. We could try to move some of your population over to Matsukua. Same with you. Part of the question is how long have they already been working on stuff? You have a population of 9. You could also try to colonize. And bear in mind, every time we colonize, we also absorb the people from that region. So it is entirely possible to colonize and then migrate them away. Call to arms from Bastania. Who are you fighting? You want my assistance in the Bastan revolt. I will help you with that because that's going to befriend you. And we're just going to use our retinues. So we'll have you march north. Oh, the revolt has a fort here. So one of the things that can happen is forts will start to capture nearby territory. Even hostile forts capturing from your own territory, rather than just recapturing their own. So we need to be wary of this. And also revolts work differently in that any province that you take during that revolt will flip to your side. So I don't know if this is... Yeah, okay, that's going to count as occupied because I was brought into the war. I was a little bit worried it would just outright flip it. So we do have someone sieging down that fort at the moment. Only 2,000 men are apparently enough. I thought it required 5,000 per level of fort. But apparently that is not true. At least in this instance. There is a rather large army up there in the north. So I think I'm going to have you just backing these guys up to try and fight them. They are currently trying to intercept that new army. And then you're going to head north to go and take that province. Okay, you won that. That's good. Semnonia wants military access. I will accept that. So does the Lugian revolt. Why do I care about the Lugian revolt? You're fighting Lemova, Varnia, Burgundia, Gothonia, Lugia, Varnian. Wait, you're fighting the Bastani? Oh, alright then. I'll give you access, I guess. The Germanic local power of the Varnian revolt have given me a gift. Thank you very much. And also, I just noticed that you just lost a province here. This is where we had an adjacency. They destroyed it. They raised it. Interesting. Because this means I can take it. Or else they migrated away. That's also possible. In order to get some free troops. So you currently have a population of 9. So I just need to bring in one more population. We could grab that. It produces basic metals, which we would then be able to trade away. I just like the idea because it's a province in this province. It's a city in this province which previously we did not have access to. There are no such things as cores in this game. It's all based on your population, cultural affinities. That's really tempting. Yeah, I think I'm going to move you to Ambium. And Ambium is going to... Where's... Colonize. Maybe I can't because I'm at war. Right, it's on the province itself, not here. So yes, we're going to move a Swabian tribesman to there. And it's now mine. Yoink! Although it is about to get sieged down by that fort. So let's move you over there. You're going to go up here and just take that province away. Just to completely lock them out. And I'm hoping that this is going to give them that land back. Although we do have a large army marching around here. Which we need to be careful of. Although the Lugian revolt is sending troops to come and assist us, which is great. And also it looks like one of the forts is starting to conquer this province as well. And there we go, it's taken. I'm going to let you guys chase after that army. I don't know where they are. And I don't particularly fancy taking the extra attrition, so I'm just going to hang out over here. And we're going to start taking these forts, I think. Although I am going to suffer attrition in the meantime. One thing I was curious about is whether we have to pay the manpower costs for these guys, but it doesn't look like it. They must have their own manpower pools. I think once it's once this manpower is used up, then I think they will start to tap into mine, but until then, we don't. He's lost another battle, that's not good. Guys, stop losing. Religious guidance. Our high priest, Mundobold Malogrus, has asked us for more funding of his religious ceremonies. With a larger budget to gather the materials necessary for a proper ceremony, he argues that he would get a closer relationship to the divine. Supporting his undertaking would certainly cement his loyalty to the nation, but at the cost of quite a lot of gold. So this would increase his loyalty, would also increase his religious power, and that's a huge reduction to loyalty. That would bring him down to 25, which is dangerous, so no, we're definitely spending that money. And this will actually allow me to do another omen. So because we're at war, very often it would be a good idea to get the extra discipline by doing the war chant, but this is, I think, a short-term war, so I'm not too concerned about it. So I think I'm going to continue with the Blessing of Tius, so that we can continue getting that population growth and just grow larger and larger and larger, and just generally more awesome. Right, are they sending an army towards me? They are not. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit in that province, steal it, and then keep an eye on what these guys are doing. You're fighting that 10,000? Oh, good luck. They must have been locked in, then intercepted. Can we see them fight? We can't. Smashed. And we're about to have a battle here. And in fact, before we join this battle, we should probably set up a few things ready for a fight. So the Imperator Rome combat system is significantly different from anything else, with the possible exception of Crusader Kings, but it's definitely a more advanced version of the Crusader Kings combat. First of all, there are different tactics that you can employ, and this time you can actually decide what kind of military stance you're in, rather than it just being an automatic thing. And this kind of works like a bit of a rock, paper, scissors, in that, for example, if we took Deception, we would be strong against skirmishing and the triplex ACs, but we would be bad against envelopment and hit and run. While the shock action Doesn't have any bonuses against any other tactics, but it does have a couple of smaller... Well, actually, it still has negatives. So generally, it looks like skirmishing and deception would be the stronger options, then something like shock attack we're not great at. The other thing you need to consider is these do give bonuses to different types of troops. So if we had a lot of light cavalry, which we actually do, then we would get a plus 45% bonus if we use the envelopment option for our light cavalry. And that is shown by the tactic effectiveness. It's basically showing you how much of your army would benefit from that tactic. So if we wanted the biggest possible bonus, then we could do deception, which is a 68% bonus to light cavalry. And we have 3 light cavalry out of the 7, although there is no bonus for archers or light infantry in that one. So I think we are going to go for deception. We do get some big bonuses against other tactics, and bad against envelopment and hit and run. We also need to consider the types of enemies we're fighting. So these guys probably have a lot of light infantry and a lot of archers. So if we look at the different bonuses here, skirmishing is quite likely, but we don't really have any negatives or positives against skirmishing. Oh no, we have a bonus against skirmishing. And deception. So deception versus deception is no real difference. So I think we're going to go deception with that army. And we'll jump in and we'll see how that looks. Okay, battle. So battles look like this. You can see an overview of all of our troops. You can see an overview of all of theirs. If you hover over your own, or over a unit category, it will show you a breakdown of their damage bonuses versus, or damage penalties versus other units. It'll also show any special abilities. So for example, archers take 10% less, or archers contribute 10% less to the supply usage. However, they do take 25% more morale damage in a fight. While a heavy infantry, for example, is 50% more supply usage, but takes 10% less morale damage, and is also just quite effective against a lot of other units, for example light infantry. So if you're fighting a barbarian or a migratory horde who likely has a lot of light infantry, and you brought something which was good against light infantry, then you're going to be hitting pretty hard. So for example, horse archers versus light infantry would be 50% better. In fact, that's just damage you do versus them. They would probably have a bonus versus you as well. And if we go over this, bonus versus light infantry 25. So it's actually a discrepancy of 75%. So your unit makeup also matters. Here we can see the different tactics at use. So we've used deception, they've used shock action. No penalties or anything against each other, so we just get the bonuses from our own deception for the horse archers, while they're using 100 chariots. We massively outnumber them. Disciplines at the same level. Commanders seem to be the same level. Level 9 versus level 6. I should have a commander bonus. But we killed them. Stack wipe. Not really surprising, we did outnumber them like 50 to 1. Bastani Revolt is stealing a lot of stuff. Alright, so we've taken that province. We're taking this one. You're coming in to take Varnia. Varsia, even. That army has escaped. We should probably try to chase after it. Access from you? Yes. Aha! We have another invention. Right, so what do we want next? One of the nice ones is definitely herbalism, as we've seen before. Military tech investment would also be good, but herbalism's just better because it's more technologies. Property tax would be nice if we wanted to earn more money to build more buildings. A Diplo rep would be good if we're trying to get alliances with people. But I think we've kind of got to go for the herbalism. Like, we need to try at least to get some technologies. We may also need to promote some freemen to citizen. So you do have complete control over that. So again, in the population area, you can promote, which costs 12 civic points per. Slaves promote to tribesmen? No, to freemen. Slaves promote to freemen, tribesmen promote to freemen, and then freemen promote to citizens. So if we did want to make some of our some of our freemen, which we do have one here, we could turn you into a citizen for 15. However, that is more expensive because we're a tribe, so tribes aren't meant to have citizens. So making those citizens comes at a cost. I think that this war is very nearly over. So these guys are going to be very much in our debt for the assistance I've granted them on this day. So hopefully they won't just turn around and cancel their alliance, because that would kind of suck. Sieges, by the way, work in much the same way as Europa Universalis. There is a certain chance per tick that one of those will happen. They provide different penalties or bonuses to the siege. In fact, if we click on this, we can see it. So there's a die roll which chooses which the outcome is. Every time you succeed in an outcome, you add one more tick, which increases the accumulation. Then once you hit a certain number of accumulations, they surrender. So right now there is a 7% chance of surrendering, which is only on a natural 20. That is modified by the level of the... or decreased by the level of the fortification, increased by your siege abilities, and then also apparently... oh no, that's just assuming control of the sieges. And your commander. Oh, commanders impact sieges. That's interesting. +1 for every 5 marshals. So if you have a level 10 marshal, for example, then he'll be really good at sieges. And then also blockades. You can have siege engineering ability. You can create breaches. Fort defense, fort level, and then the garrison. Cool. And you can see the ticking up thing here, which is definitely rather more clear than EU4's, which is just a tiny little scale. This is a very tough fort. Now this is a level 1... oh no, we won. Never mind. We must have captured them or something. Right, our armies were exiled, so let's send you home. Something like that. Good! Victory is ours. Huzzah. So what other trade goods are in this area? We've got hemp, leather, wood, veggies. Might try and grab the... actually, leather doesn't matter so much. Neither does the hemp. Neither do the vegetables. I probably don't need to expand up there quite so much. I could probably do with expanding here. Especially if I can get towards the gemstones. So I might go for the wood, the hemp, and then the gems. Or we could go iron, precious metals, gems. I like that idea. Let's do that. Iron, precious metals, and gems. That sounds perfectly dwarven to me. Marvellous. And on that perfectly dwarven note, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you get notifications when I do more content like this. If you want to catch this type of stuff live, then you should come over and join us on Twitch. That's at twitch.tv/MordredViking. If you're watching this as soon as it goes live, I will be streaming later today, kicking off at 5 PM BST. If you're watching after that, then there is a schedule on my Discord channel, which you can find linked in the description below. Or there are also schedules always on my twitch.tv page. I'm pretty good about keeping that up to date. If you want to support the channel financially, you can check out the Patreon, which you can also find in the description. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.